Now, moving on, a lot has been said on the importance of digital economy in the country, especially in the technology ecosystem. The role of digital enablers and transformers also, as well as the opportunities available therein. Joining us to look at this, we have with us Temi Tokwe Oshunrinde. He is the Vice President for Marketing at Tizeti Networks. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
All right. Thank you, Victor. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, indeed. So let's kick off this conversation with what is going on currently in the digital transformation and economy space.
All right. Thank you. So the digital economy anywhere in the world is closely correlated with the state of technology adoption.
Yep.
So we have seen how technology globally and locally is transforming our ways of life, how we do things. Right now, it is easier to do anything or get anywhere or to have friends leveraging technology. We have apps like Google Search. We have e-commerce platforms. We have messaging platforms that take away the boundaries of time, of space, and enable us converge in this global village. And then coming home to Nigeria, we have seen how has followed innovative ideas. 2021, Africa raised $4 billion in capital. About 1.6 of that was raised by Nigerian startups. We also fortunately have a significant number of the unicorns coming out of Africa. And there are some drivers that we see that sort of improving technology adoption. We have to look at population.
Yeah.
The total addressable market in Nigeria, 200 million, obviously is a huge boon in terms of talent.
Yeah.
In terms of markets. And then most of these people, about 140 million, are below 30 years. So the capacity to train them, mentor, education can potentially be a digital army. And then we have to look at the digital explosion and Nigeria, things that are happening globally coming into Nigeria.
Yeah. Yeah, let me just, because you've talked about so much, but the key word for me, you just said now, if we look at this explosion, so pretty much there's this explosion going on, and if you look at it, I can go on and on to talk about, different initiatives, in terms of digital infrastructure in the country, but we didn't see all of this 5 years ago. So what exactly, is provoking all of these moves?
All right, so I think I'll look at it from the four core pillars that are enabling digital transformation. So you have to look at infrastructure, whether it's broadband infrastructure or data center cloud infrastructure. Over the last 4 years, we have seen more activity in the broadband infrastructure space. Google recently launched in Nigeria and Togo. Totally in all now, we have about 6 submarine cables in Nigeria. They're offering 50 terabytes. But we still see some challenges that need to be improved in terms of last mile, middle mile infrastructure. We also have to look at data center infrastructure. We see recently Google again also announced a cloud data center in South Africa. And then we see the impact of this cloud and data center technology in terms of, because of the increased broadband penetration, mobile penetration, more people are coming online. There's a need to process, store and process this data. So there's a lot happening in that space. And then I also want to look at regulation. So the four I mentioned, infrastructure, regulation, talent, and capital. So in terms of regulation, there is good regulation. Traditionally, African regulators sort of have a police and thief approach. They only come with the hammer after you have heard. But we see increasingly more collaboration between operators and regulators. And then in Nigeria, we have different regulators regulating different industries. In my industry, we have the NCC that has been a very proactive and future-focused regulator. One of the things that I've done, obviously, 5G, some of the licenses that come up, the launch of Equano, like I mentioned, and then capital. So startups, the most important thing for them is either they are making money or they are saving money or they're raising money. So startup is capital is very important, especially if you invest in the sexy infrastructure that is required. A lot of the capital that's flowed into Nigeria has mostly gone into fintechs.
Fintech.
There was even a post online by one of my colleagues that aside fintechs, what else do we have to offer? And
so like you said, aside fintech, what do we have to offer? Just as we wind this conversation down, quickly in 30 seconds to 1 minute, Nigeria 62, we just celebrated the independence. So what opportunities do you think others can also, put forward, that would help shape the next line of investments in the next decade now, say, as we wind down? 30 seconds, please.
So I think there are significant institutional voice that still exist in Nigeria. Yeah. We have to improve, aside financial inclusion, we also have to improve healthcare inclusion. We have to build better broadband infrastructure. We have to do roads. And then the role of technology and capital and all these pillars I mentioned have to go into these new sectors, into these new places and sort of revive them. And then obviously we have some things that we believe are going to improve the space. We have the startup bill that we're waiting for the presidential assent. We have operators that are building more infrastructure like TZT. We recently announced plans to expand to additional states in Nigeria. So we believe that by bringing more people online within the develop and building right infrastructure, Nigeria can collectively participate and contribute to the emerging digital economy.
We can't wait for that to happen. Temi Tope Osunrinde, Vice President at TZT Networks. Of course, this conversation is one that we'll keep following to see when all of this would happen. But I have to say thank you to you for joining us on the show today and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, Victor.